Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody. It's Thursday, March 7th. It's about 50 degrees out. It's getting getting to spring. Hope everyone's doing okay. I guess if you're in California or some of those places, you had lots of snow, and there's been a lot of wetness on the East Coast. I think it's rained like every day this week between New York and Baltimore or Boston. Um, so we're just working away, and I'm a couple minutes late because I got like a million phone calls that I had to answer, so I apologize for that. Now let's see, I'm doing cystic pancreatic tumors today. I want to thank everybody who complimented us or commented on, or whatever they did, with our Trevor Noah thing. It's still online. Trevor Noah interviewed me and our group for AI and pancreas. So that's really good, which kind of leads up to this talk, right? Which is pancreatic cystic tumors. Now, there's, when you think about pancreatic cystic tumors, there's a whole range of tumors. So one of the things, of course, is detection, and the other thing is recognition. The most common pancreatic cystic tumor is an IPMN. Now, IPMNs, if you go above age 50 or 60, more than 10% of the population have them. Some people wrote MR articles which say 20% of the population or more has them. The better your scanner, the more IPMNs you pick up. Now, cystic lesions like IPMNs, there's lots of controversy. How do you manage them? The issue with IPMNs is, in theory, they can become malignant. So they're kind of what you would call precursor lesions. But in saying that, 97% or more of IPMNs will be benign. They can grow. Remember, there was a rule, the Tanaka criteria for a while, that if it was 3 centimeters or greater, you would resect them. Now, those rules have kind of changed a little bit, so not quite the same. Okay, so we really, so that part's good. But you still need to follow them. So it's depending on the patient's family history, you may do EUS, CT, MR. The advising from the ACR criteria is to follow it for 9 years. Now that's a very long time. There aren't that many things we follow for 9 years. But the reality is even 9 years is not good enough, because since it's a precursor lesion, you could be good for 9 years, in the 10th year or the 12th year or the 15th year, you can have problems. So there's a challenge. Now, IPMNs are typically small, under 3 centimeters, well-defined water density. When you look at them, you look for trouble. You look for enhancement of the wall. You look for thickening or nodularity, anything eccentric or anything irregular. If you see anything irregular or eccentric, they'll probably do EUS and do fluid sampling, and they may go and remove it depending what the EUS shows. So that's probably the most common cystic lesion. We then talk about unusual cystic lesions in the sense that we talk about neuroendocrine tumors of the pancreas, which are typically vascular, but there is a variant called cystic neuroendocrine tumors. They can be small or larger. They're cystic. One of the differences, they have rim enhancement. So really dense rim enhancement often do not dilate the pancreatic duct, can theoretically have liver mets, usually do not, but they're called, cystic neuroendocrine tumors. So Tomi Kawamoto wrote an article way back when about them. So it's something, if we see a cystic pancreatic lesion and we see lots of wall enhancement, then we're thinking about a cystic neuroendocrine tumor. There's a tumor that's cystic and solid, typically female, 9-to-1, younger patients, though we see them in older patients as well, and that's called a SPEN, solid and papillary epithelial neoplasm. They can be cystic. It's one of the things that's under the cystic category. Now again, that's kind of the uncommon type cystic lesion. Now, the cystic lesions that are more common are serous cystadenomas and mucinous cystic neoplasms. Those are two I'll speak about. Serous lesions are patients in their 60s, men, female, not a lot of difference. They can be smaller, they can be large. They typically have septations, multiple septations, quite frankly, or just thin septations. They can have mass effect on vessels. Serous cystadenomas are always benign, but they can have mass effect because they can get very large, compress vessels, or displace things, and so you would typically remove them just because you would be concerned that they could become something bad. So that's something that you would need to worry about, okay? So I think that becomes very, very important. So it's an important lesion to be able to look at. Serous cystadenomas also can be somewhat confusing because they can be solid. So that's really a challenge if you have solid serous cystadenomas. It can be a challenge. What do you do with them? Because they can very much simulate neuroendocrine tumors. So that's kind of a very interesting possibility as to those tumors. We then talk about mucinous cystic neoplasms. Theoretically, those always are considered pre-malignant. They, oh, look at that, made a shape and it gave me a star. That's scary. It must be like Taylor Swift. Not a star, a heart. Okay. Now, with mucinous cystic neoplasms, they typically remove, though some people say now smaller ones you don't have to. Typically, body of pancreas, typically female in their 40s, so it's kind of an age-related thing. With those mucinous cystic neoplasms, they're removed because they can be malignant. Often they'll be removed if they have high-grade dysplasia. Again, unlikely to have dilated pancreatic duct. MCNs differ from serous. Serous are more common by the head. Serous also have very commonly central dense punctate calcification, though there's a range of appearances. MCN can have calcifications. Typically it's around the periphery. So that's one difference as well there. The age and then fluid sampling will make life very easy. As I mentioned, serous have multiple types: thin septation, multiple septations, no septations at all, and then solid masses which simulate neuroendocrine tumors. We are looking at AI for serous tumors, trying to see can AI really predict where the tumor or what the tumor is. I think that's going to be very, very helpful in time. Again, one of the things you also want to look at is if you have lab values, particularly if you have fluid, can you predict what lesions you need to follow up and which lesions you don't need to follow up. So there's a lot of work going on in this area. We're doing a bunch of it, and I think it's going to change how we handle these lesions. Obviously, other cystic lesions can be something as simple as a pancreatic pseudocyst. Surely if a patient has had pancreatitis or had trauma, a pseudocyst is not going to be uncommon. That'll be something to think about as well. Adenocarcinoma can be necrotic, can be cystic, but I think when they're cystic, they're still irregular, there's still diffuse infiltration around. Common duct, pancreatic duct are often dilated, you have vessel involvement. So I think cystic PDACs, adenocarcinomas, just are uncommon, and I usually don't think you have a problem with those, but it's not so much that they're cystic as much as necrotic. Those are the main things. In terms of imaging, again, ideally dual phase imaging, thin section CT, vascular mapping, 3D mapping all become very, very critical. Good articles by us recently on cinematic rendering of cystic tumors, and we are doing a lot of work on these cystic tumors. Now, if you have any questions, now's a good time. So I see John Bianchino is home. Hey, John. And I see my computer is acting just a little funny there. And Jay Jamie, also from Hopkins, is home in Glen Burnie. And Hassan Kabiri is in Norway. Well, that's a long way away. And he's asking, can AI predict the prognosis of malignant tumors? And the answer is, we're working on it. There's been several articles written that AI can be used with radiomics to predict management of patients, what chemotherapy will or will not work. We are trying to figure out with AI how we manage patients who should or shouldn't get surgery, who should get chemotherapy. We're also looking with AI to find new therapies for pancreatic cancer. One of the biggest things with AI over the next couple of years is going to be AI for drug discovery. I think that's really going to be really exciting. I think that's going to be very, very, very important. I think AI, and I've said this before, it's going to affect everything we do from detection to management to follow-up. And that's happening now. We're trying hard on that. And then here, Elfim Felix from Ghana. Okay, so we're really, one of our techs was from Ghana. He was a prince, I think. John, what's his name? Remember? I'm blocking out his name. It's been a number of years. He was the Prince of CT. No, but he was a prince in Ghana. But I think there are a lot of princes in Ghana. I remember when he explained it, but I can't remember his name. All right, John's not helping me here. But I hope everything is well in Ghana. And I think with that, I'll stop there. And I hope everybody is having a great day. And there's a bunch of things on CTisus. The teaching files, you can see a lot of the cystic cases. There's a bunch of texts we have, a bunch of images, and then we have the apps which look at the various, there's an app looking at cystic pancreatic tumors, trying to help you make the right diagnosis. So with that, I thank everybody for their attention, and I wish everybody a great day.